Hey, welcome back. Another Black City Coffee vlog. In this video, a friend asked me in the DMs, do you pay attention to moisture content or density? And you know what? I, at first and foremost, instinctively paid attention to density in a way. But my goal really was like not about what the number was in terms of density. If we're going to quantify things, I was just like, is this coffee dense or not as dense on a scale of dense? So is it more dense? Is it less dense? For example, a Brazil natural processed coffee, right? Y'all know about Brazil Ipe, grown at 1,000 meters. Okay, we'll call that less dense. All right, takes on heat easily because it's less dense. It's also grown at a lower elevation. Also, a natural processed coffee requires less energy in general to roast. Okay, I call that the 350 charge. Right away, my brain goes there. 350 charge when I'm roasting on my little 1 kilo machine. Okay, what's more dense then? The densest, I would say, is like your African coffees grown at 2,200 meters above sea level and things like that. And the closer I get to like 2,200, I'll call that dense. Where's the line for me? I would say the line, I think, is like 1,800 meters above sea level. I'll see that, and my mind is already going towards, I'm going to need more energy. Just instinctively, I go this way. I don't even know what the number is, okay? I'm just thinking it's obviously going to be denser. Now, a friend asked about moisture content or density. Well, if we try to think back to what we first learned in all of our little coffee 101 or roasting 101 stuff, for me anyway, with Mill City Roasters, that's my first go-to, is like go to their blog, and they've just documented, well categorized every one of their pieces of content, which are really good. Now, they haven't covered every single thing. That's like impossible. So to address every single one of your individual questions, right? So I try to find, like, this is how I try to solve a problem without talking to a person. I'm trying to build my skill set in terms of finding answers for myself, right? So I go to the blog, I'll search moisture content, density. So these are some of the things that popped up. We have here Coffee Lab equipment, Lytel's moisture density analyzer. I was like, you know what? I never really watched this video, so I'm gonna see what that's about. And then there's this one, educational short, coffee density / moisture and charge temp. Now, when I'm looking and I'm looking for an answer about what should I care about, moisture content or density, these already, the blogs are pairing those two things together. So I'm already going, they're both important. But what am I going to be taking with me as a roaster, as a beginner, as a learner, you know, without somebody who has years and years and years of experience behind me? What am I going to take with me to when I step to the roaster the next time I go, right? Because we're just incrementally wanting to improve ourselves as we go. So I watched this one first, and basically, honestly, it's just a review video, but about this machine. But if you like skip all the way to like almost the end, and he's explaining what is the meaning behind density in coffee. So let's just take a listen.
If we have 808 grams per liter and 10.8% of that is moisture, well, let's just see what that looks like. 808 is 87.26 grams of moisture. So if I had a very high density coffee that was still measuring at 10.8% moisture, then I know that I would have more moisture in that coffee, even though my percentage is reading the same. If I had a lower density coffee that measures at 10.8% moisture, then I know that even though my moisture is reading the same percentage, I actually have far less moisture in that coffee overall. This is great insight for you as a roaster, and I hope that...
All right, to pick it up, it's pretty, like, I would say when I was listening to this, I was like, okay, that's obvious in that dense, More dense means more moisture. Less dense means less moisture. And I was like, I had to listen to it again. I was like, am I missing something here? There's probably an underlying, this is a short, right? This is an educational short. He's not going to go into the, I don't know, intricate science behind why that is, okay? But yeah, it was just like, okay, instinctively, that seems like that makes sense, okay?
A tool like this lands in your hands very soon because it can help you get to the point of roasting coffee much more quickly and easily than just troubleshooting in the dark. So once again, this is the Lytell's MD.
All right, so there it is. It's troubleshooting in the dark. To me, as I'm interpreting this, without talking to anybody else, okay? So, and this is not because I don't want to, or I'm lazy or anything like that, but this is good just for discussion, okay? I don't have time to go and ask everybody and their mom, like, what do you think about this video? This is how I interpret it, and if you have a correction to that, you can put it in the comments. But how am I interpreting it is that it doesn't really matter what, I guess, the density level is. So Brazil versus Africa, and the moisture content is still 10%. For some, he just said right there, he's just like, we know there's going to be more moisture in the more dense one and less moisture in the less dense one. Okay, let's just call that a little density loose law, okay? If we just know that, we know that. All right, so I'll just take that at your word. So that just means that as I'm approaching a new green, to me, this is how I'm interpreting it. As I'm approaching a new green, I've got an African coffee. You know, my green importer tells me it's 10%. I'm just going to assume it's going to need more energy. It's going to need a higher charge temp when I take it to the roaster, so that I don't fudge around and just, you know, maybe choose a lesser charge temp or something like that. And so I'm trying to be as efficient with my machine as possible, meaning I'm trying to use as much energy as I need, no more, no less, so that I can hit all the marks in the roast as I need to get it to, you know, quote unquote, a la clutch peak flavor, or the best profile that you need, right, for this particular coffee, you know, and still balancing what you paid for, without waste, because as you profile coffees, if it's a new coffee in the roastery, you're trying to figure out, right, there's going to be some waste. We try to minimize waste by having as much information, like if you have this density tool, you have as much information going into this new roast and figuring out how to profile it, light, medium, dark, whatever it may be, right? So I don't know, it's just like more tools for you, more information before you take on this new mission. You know, you're just trying to do your prep, you're trying to do your research, trying to be prepared to minimize waste, to minimize time lost, money spent, and things like this. And I think, obviously, when you're Mill City Roasters, you're gonna have these like $2,000 to $5,000 tools or whatever. How much is this tool? It's probably something crazy. Something crazy. Like, I was like, dude, this tool is so expensive. Any of these Lytell's, any of these density moisture analyzers, they're very expensive, right? But when you're working at scale and you're spending thousands of dollars, these are the steps that these people take, right? So that they minimize waste, they minimize hours and money lost, because this is big business. For us, home roasters, this is generally something that we're not really going to have to worry about unless you have the budget for that in time. I just, you know, it kind of doesn't really make sense as a hobby roaster. But it's an interesting thing to talk about. And I was telling my friend here, I said, word, this is super interesting. I'll give this some thought. My gut reaction is to learn how each particular machine roasts most efficiently and effectively to do just that. I think you can go and compare your machine to an Alio Bullet, to some Chinese-made machine, to some Loring, to some Gießen, to some Dietrich. But in the end, you just need to learn how your machine, your specific machine that you're using, how it roasts and be efficient, with whatever fuel that you have, whatever airflow that you have. You just need to learn how that machine roasts in particular, okay? And that should be your goal, right? And not always like playing the compare game, because you're just playing on different playing fields, comparing two different machines. A Loring to a Mill City is totally different, you know? And it doesn't mean one's more wrong or more right than the other, because I think you can truly make good coffee with either, right? And good is subjective to those in the coffee industry. Continuing on, I was like, wow, this is cool. I generally had that idea, like more density, more moisture. Okay, like just instinctively, right? Less density, less moisture overall. So meaning I need more energy into the roast on the more dense ones and less energy into the roast on the less dense ones, okay? So I was just like, okay, cool. This gives me new clarity on why moisture is more telling or maybe more useful than, say, density. Since density can change, right? But if your moisture levels change, then that can really tell you about how much energy you need in the roast, how much you need to kind of like dry out the coffee before it can go through all of the right chemical reactions to go through my yard at the proper amount of time, at the right amount of temperature and all that stuff, okay? So I was like saying, well, I might have gotten to the same intent, that was misspelling, the same intent when approaching a new green for profiling. I don't really understand why, but it's because of moisture content overall. And yeah, it just, he kind of laid it out for me right here. It wasn't so plain. It's kind of so fast in the end of the video. You're just like, huh? That was like, it was almost too easy, like too easy of an answer. So I hope I'm not misinterpreting that. But meanwhile, between the different machines on how they roast coffee is just that. It's kind of moot, like I was just saying, to input data from an Aleo Bullet or a Loring or etc. when we're Mill City roasters. I think, you know, I can always be wrong, and that's fine. I'm okay with being wrong. I think we need to find out exactly how our machine works and to best be efficient and effective to roast our best cups. You know, so in the end, we're all just trying to roast without defect. Okay, and once we master that, it'll be about like modulating for flavor. Oh, I want to make this more acidic. Oh, I want to make this more sweet. Okay, since we already know how to roast this without defect, because we understand our machine, we're a competent operator of our machine, whether it's an Aleo Bullet using Artisan or a Mill City roaster, home roaster, using RoastPath. Okay, we just need to be competent operators. Okay, and then I asked about, you know, are you having an issue with tipping specifically? Funny thing is about tipping, Rob claims that there are some tipping defects you can't taste. Yeah, sometimes I tip my coffee, and I'm like, ooh, that's not pretty. Cup of coffee, I can't tell. And if I can't tell, more often than not, my customer can't tell. And that happens all the time. It's not that we're lying or something like this. Maybe some people are lying. Oh, I never tip my coffee. I sometimes tip my coffee and I can't taste it. When I pull a coffee that I've roasted and I don't want to sell it, is because I know for sure, like, I've tasted or I've verified, I don't think I should sell this. And that's, you know, the golfer's game, the ethics of it all. You know, you got to call your own shots. Honor system, you know, and you do with you will with that. So yeah, but it was super interesting. I think just, you know, Solivagant, I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry, Solivagant Bloom Roasters, I thought it was helpful to know, even though I was intuitively thinking that and kind of getting to the same, I guess, conclusion, is it was good to know, like, why, you know? Because I'm not science, I don't think science based, you know. I'm trying to be aware of that, because roasting is a science and art, but I typically go more intuitive and more artsy and things like that. But I understand that that's not really, you know, teachable or shareable. So I'm trying to speak that language, and I understand the importance of that. So anyway, that was interesting. I don't know. What are your guys' take on it? I'd like to go back and forth about it. I'm still like processing it too, and that's why I just wanted to put, you know, my initial thoughts here on camera and kind of explain a little bit more. Like I can only text you this much. I'm not going to write you a whole novel or something. I'd much rather just like bleh onto a video. Learn, discover, conversate with you guys here in this forum, and then, you know, on the next video we find out, you know, we progress and grow. All right, cool things. See you in the next one. Bye.